Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. It's wonderful to be able to gather so many smart and driven Black women, business owners, and all of you together tonight. Black History Month is a great chance for us to connect and find new ways to ensure Black women can succeed in Alberta. I'm Whitney Isaac. I'm the Associate Minister for the Status of Women. And when I graduated university, I opened a jewelry store in Calgary. Believe me, I know how hard it is to keep and start and grow a business every step of the way. Even before you begin, there's so much to figure out, from licenses to loans to inventory to marketing. But at the end of the day, there's no prouder feeling than having a big dream and making it a reality. Entrepreneurs like yourselves are the heart and soul of the community. Locally owned businesses are also the key to building a stronger economic recovery for Alberta and ensuring we have a bright financial future for everyone in this province. The government of Alberta is focused on finding ways to help women entrepreneurs be a part of that future. We've already launched the Women's Economic Recovery Challenge Grant, which funds projects to help create opportunities for women in the economy. Alberta's government is also reducing childcare fees so more women have the financial freedom to pursue jobs they're passionate about. These actions, along with other investments in training programs, employment supports, scholarships, and others, have created great momentum for women in Alberta. However, being an entrepreneur means facing constant changes and challenges. I want to make sure my decisions are always guided by women who are experiencing these challenges on a daily basis. We want to know how the government of Alberta can best support Black women entrepreneurs in growing their businesses and supporting this province's economic growth. Who better to tell us than women who have successfully built their own businesses and blazed the trail for other women to follow? I'd like to invite my colleague, Kemi Bola, MLA for Edmonton Southwest, to say a few words and to introduce everyone. Emily Madu.
Thank you so much, Minister Isaac, and good evening, everyone. And thank you to all of you that have been able to join us this evening. My name is Kemi Bola. I am the MLA for Edmonton Southwest, and it is a great honor for me to join you tonight to have this roundtable and to hear from Black women entrepreneurs who have gone out there, despite all of the difficulties, to build their businesses. Leaders in your own right, leaders in our community, a shining example to each and every one of us in our province, to see the potential and the resilience of Black women entrepreneurs in our province. I am grateful for the opportunity to be here, and I look forward to your contributions tonight. Essentially, we are here to listen to you, to hear your stories, where you come from, and what you have built, the difficulties along the way, and how government can rely on those stories and experiences of yours to ensure it is easier for you, for those who are coming after you, and in so doing, build a better province for each and every one of us. Let me say this also. Black women are resilient. Even so, the Black women entrepreneurs, and you are not just building businesses, but you are also our mothers. You are our sisters. And you help build our province. You help to build Alberta, raise and to build Alberta's children. And I do want to thank you for your sacrifice, for your hard work, and for being here tonight. Now, with that, it is my pleasure to introduce the Black women entrepreneurs that we have here tonight. I am going to begin with Banke Adederon. Banke Adederon is a first-generation immigrant and has been a member of the Alberta Bar since 2009. Banke created her own firm, Adept Family Lawyers, which offered services in family law, real estate, and wealth and estate. So Banke, if you don't mind, a quick introduction by yourself before I go on to our next entrepreneur.
Thank you very much. Yes, my name is Banke, and my journey started from Nigeria and all the way to Fort McMurray and then Calgary, where I had worked with some big law firms. In addition to the practice of law, I learned the business side of law just about a year before I decided to branch off on my own. I believe the passion to start my own practice started from me mentoring some associates at the law firm that I practiced at the time. I was ready to become my own boss. I thought I could do this on my own. Then I thought I needed training on the business side. So I waited another 1 year to learn the business side, like the things I needed to do, all I needed to know, the dangers and the benefits of owning your own practice. So the first step I did was to meet with the Law Society, and I had several meetings with the Law Society. Everything I needed to know. I had to have several meetings with them. I met with my mentors. I also had meetings with senior colleagues at the bar as well, and of course my family. So when I started my own practice, I was ready, and I started right away in 2014. But despite foreseeing everything and having good meetings with the Law Society, I even picked out names with the Law Society. They were fond of me and all that. I still had some challenges. And I would say the biggest challenge I had was running a business and at the same time practicing law, because blending the two was a bit of a challenge for me that I did not foresee. Running a business comes with networking and marketing and all that. At the same time, I had to keep up with the law itself and case law. And I also had a challenge of wanting to have a business at the same time, cherry pick within client. So I had that challenge. So to take care of that, I had to take on associate, which wasn't part of the plan at the beginning. My plan was to be solo. I hired associates to join my practice, and I figured it wasn't a bad idea to pivot at the end of the day. So associate joined my practice, and at the end of the day, it turned out to be one of the best decisions I made. And after that, I was able to run my business smoothly. I was able to practice law and actually be a lawyer and be on top of my game. And I was also able to mentor other lawyers as well. I took on student at law. I was able to volunteer as well. I was able to attend CBA and all that, and also had quality time with my family. So I think that that side was not planned, but today I think that was a great decision I made to be able to run my practice for about 8 years. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Banke. Great honor to have you here. Our next Black entrepreneur that is with us tonight is Kemi Bola Bello. Kemi has a degree in Human Service Administration and Mass Communication. Kemi started Bokba Wholesale, a specialty ethnic grocery and discount food store from her home garage in 2016 and expanded to 2 locations in Edmonton within 2 years of operation. Her company won an Alberta Award of Distinction in 2021. Kemi, if you can take 2 minutes to introduce yourself to the others, that would be great. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Emily Madu. This is an honor to be here. My name is Kemi Bola Bello. My family immigrated from Nigeria, just like Banke, in 2015. And we came to Edmonton. We made Edmonton our first home and our forever home. And when we came here in 2015, and we started our business from our garage, like Emily Madu mentioned, we noticed the price of fresh produce was so high during the winter months. So we decided to bring in produce from all over Alberta, BC, directly from farmers to our customers. And people started pre-ordering every year from us, and we'll bring it during the summer months. So in 2019, we thought about expanding and make this a proper business. So we decided to start our first store in 2019. And in 2 years, we were able to grow to a second location in Edmonton. We started the store myself, my husband, my 11-year-old son at that time was our cashier. My visiting parents-in-law were all our store assistants. That's how we started. And we moved from there. We started hiring people. We were able to hire. It was a very tough, very, very difficult journey because the banks told us that we are very risky. We sell food and food business is risky. So we had to go into a lot of personal debt. We had to go into a lot of pulling all our credit together to be able to keep running the business. We had to speak to a lot of people that had to help us. Some people came forward and helped. Some people couldn't. We all know how the economy is. So from there, we moved on to be able to expand the business and grow the business. And in 2021, which is just a few months ago, we opened a second store on the west side of Edmonton, which is way more bigger and way more spacious. And that has been the journey for us since we faced so many challenges, but in all, we are here today. And at the moment, we have about 10 workers that work for us right now. So we are growing every day and we are looking forward to grow bigger than where we are right now. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kemi, for that. Thank you for being here tonight. Our next Black woman entrepreneur is Rihanna Malik Bangla. Rihanna is the CEO of Steamboat Corporation. Steamboat develops partnerships between Canadian and African clients to provide sustainable development solutions for projects in agriculture, renewable energy, infrastructure, and capacity. Rihanna, please, over to you.
Good evening. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here this evening. Good evening, ladies. My name is Rihanna Malik Mbanga. I am the CEO of Steamboat Corporation. As Minister Madhu said, Steamboat is a sustainable development company. Our operations predominantly have been in Africa. The aim is to take Canadian professionalism, Canadian personnel, Canadian projects, and replicate them in Africa where we find the need. If anyone is aware, Africa has a few sustainable development goals, and Steamboat has aligned themselves with those sustainable development goals to end poverty, increase well-being and health and social welfare, increase education, increase access to gender equity, and sustainable goals like that. I founded Steamboat in 2016 in my kitchen with my husband. And since then, we have grown. We've had a lot of experience. We've traveled to, I think, 8 or 6 African countries. We've had the support of the government here in Alberta and the federal government. And then within Canada, we recently started a charity, a community to support other business women to create a network called When African Women Talk, which is 4 years in going. And this year is our 4th year, and we're very excited. We have been supporting and promoting Black Canadian women of African heritage. And this year, I am also helping other African women of African heritage to level up and increase their visibility, their space, and their business. And that project is called Invest in African Women. So it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much. And I look forward to hearing and meeting other entrepreneurs like myself.
Thank you so much, Rihanna. Great to have you here. Our next Black woman entrepreneur for tonight is Sarah Akin. Born in Nigeria, Sarah moved to the United Kingdom after high school, where she completed her undergraduate and master's degree. Sarah is the founder of Toria Skincare, a natural vegan skincare lineup made in Calgary. Sarah, back to you, please.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here tonight to share my journey with you guys. I moved to Calgary, to Canada in 2012, and my first stop was Calgary, and I'm still here. This wasn't something I planned, but I realized I had a heat product in hand because people would come to me and ask me for some of my products. So after a while, I considered making it a full-time business, and which I've succeeded in doing. The struggle was real when I started, but I was able to overcome the challenges. And it's been 2 years. It's going to be 2 years we've been in business since we started. So it's a Toria Skincare, is a natural vegan skincare. All our products are handmade in Calgary. The goal is to support the local business in creating our product high locally. And our products, some of our materials come from Africa. So we get most of our shea butter, which is our most popular product, directly from the women in Africa. So we're not just helping build an economy here and selling natural skincare, we're taking the help and the resources back home as well to support the women back home.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Glad to have you here. Our next Black woman entrepreneur tonight is Dr. Jennifer Njenga. Dr. Njenga is the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Canada Home Care Group, a mobile clinic that provides after-hours care to Albertans in the comfort of their home setting. The clinic is comprised of family doctors, nurse practitioners, and other nurses who provide primary care services. Dr. Njenga, over to you, please.
Thank you very much for having me. Good evening, ladies, Honorable Minister, Emily Madu. My name is Dr. Jennifer Njenga. I'm the CEO and founder of Canada Home Care Group. We provide after-hours care, non-urgent, so we don't provide any urgent services to people in the comfort of their homes. And when we say homes, that is private homes, senior facilities, community centers, wherever someone identifies as home. My background, I'm originally from Uganda, that's in East Africa. I tracked my way down to South Africa, where I did my medical training. Then I lived in Namibia, and then moved to New Zealand. My journey is long, with my fiance, then husband now, and partner. Then in New Zealand, became a New Zealander at a very young age. Worked in various departments in medicine, worked with vulnerable populations, worked with seniors, indigenous communities. I worked in clinical roles and non-clinical roles. Clinically, I spent most time in the hospital working with women and children. And then I was very attracted to public health. So I did my Master's of Public Health in New Zealand, loved it, and went out to primary care, became a general practitioner, a family doctor there, still in New Zealand. I needed to learn more. So I did more studies in public health. I've got a doctor of public health from Australia, where we moved to. And then there, about 5 years ago, moved to Canada, Alberta. On arrival here, because I had both a clinical background and a non-clinical background, I started working with Alberta Health Services, where I worked as the referral lead. So I was a clinical lead for referral pathways with Alberta Health Services. I missed primary care, so I decided to go back to primary care. I had a choice to do my exams and either become a family physician or continue my work in public health. I chose public health and started noticing all the issues that I'd noticed along the way, my journey in medicine. Long waiting times in the hospitals, vulnerable populations not able to access care, especially after hours, refugee migrants having large families, not having access to transportation, language and cultural barriers. At that time, it was the end of 2019, my father was unwell. He was quite senior, had me pretty late in the game. He was looked after at home. When he became very unwell, he could not go to the doctors. This was back in Uganda. But at home, the physicians would come and visit, the nurses would come, and all the clinical team. And so with all the talk about long waiting times in the hospital, I thought, why does everybody have to go to the hospital after hours? Because the clinics are closed. What about the weekend? 2020 came, COVID hit, people were stuck at home, could not access care, people needed care. So I thought, what happens then? So I got together with a couple of colleagues, our Director of Health Services, Angela Kachanja, who's a senior nurse, and my husband, Dr. Michael Jenga, who's a family doctor. And I said, why don't we start a clinic where we can see people in their homes? This was different for Alberta Health. I wrote a proposal, we had to write this up, and Alberta Health could not understand what we were talking about. Initially, they said, well, something like this had happened in the past. We used to have the doctors go out and visit patients in their homes long time ago. Then, as we all know, the funding system changed here in Alberta, and so that kind of discontinued. So our clinic is very unique. We do everything. We go out, we do blood pressure checks, we do diabetes education, we take blood work, we do vaccines. We did the influenza vaccine program, we joined that. We did really well, did about 400 first time round. Then we said COVID vaccines are now here in Alberta. We wanted to become part of that program. So again, we applied to Alberta Health and said, we want to give the COVID vaccines. At that time, most of our teammates had not been vaccinated. So Alberta Health said, how are you going to do this? I said, well, we will adhere to all the COVID protocols, give us the vaccines, and off we went. And we've done nearly 1,000 COVID vaccines now in the community, in private homes, again, in seniors facilities. And what's good about for Alberta is that our services are covered by Alberta Health, so we're very grateful for that. So that's my journey. The other thing I'm also doing is working with Indigenous communities, and I would do that as a consultancy. That comes from my experience working with Indigenous communities in New Zealand, the Maori people. I was adopted by the Maori people in New Zealand. So coming here and seeing some of the issues that the Indigenous communities have, going to the reserves and saw all the issues that are there. Again, social determinants of health. I was actually called upon to come and assist them to reorganize or reorient their health services. So that's my journey.
Thank you so much, Dr. Njenga, for being here tonight. Our next Black woman entrepreneur is Christine Chana August. Ms. August is the CEO of Chana Consulting and Training and hosts a podcast called The Fab Collective. Her consulting business is a customized solution to training needs for businesses. Christine has a BA honors in sociology from York University. Christine, thank you for being here tonight. Over to you.
Thank you, Emily, and nice to see everyone here this evening. Thank you again for inviting me to be part of this discussion, this important discussion. I am here on Treaty 6 territory in Amiskwaciwaskegan, so Edmonton, that is the Cree name for Edmonton. I am originally from the Toronto area, but have called Edmonton my fuller time home for almost 10 years already. It was supposed to be a 4-year plan, but we are still here. My business is, entrepreneur started for me at the tender age of 10 years old. I was working at a very young age. There was another female entrepreneur here who said that her 11-year-old son was working in the grocery store, and that is how my mom had me start an entrepreneur. She went back to school to become a chef, and then of course when she would do catering, my sister and I were in tow serving adults, and it's just like sharks are boring swimming. So that's how it started for me. Again, in 2012, I moved here with my boyfriend, who is now my husband, and I very quickly got involved in the community. My business, again, is a consultancy, but we do training. A heavy focus of the work that we do is within racialized and marginalized communities. So I do spend a good amount of time on reserves as well, and in community facilities. Working, I would say 90% of the work is within reserves, but of course, we do a lot of work in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space as well, and that is on the Indigenous side, educating companies and organizations, not just here in Alberta, but of course across, I would say we're growing. So now we're Manitoba and West. Again, in terms of my entrepreneurial journey, it has been interesting to say the least. I officially incorporated the Channer Group, which I'm the CEO. What I didn't know 3 months before the pandemic. So it's certainly been interesting, and it's had its challenges that any entrepreneur will face. But I'm very grateful to be here and to have this discussion today. As MLA Madu mentioned, so I am the CEO of the Channer Group, founder and principal of Channer Consulting and Training, and of course, podcast creator of host of the Fab Collective. So I like to definitely keep myself busy. And just learning, one of the things I love about my job is that, and my role is that I'm continually learning from the community and working alongside the community to build from the ground up and really build capacity for conversations like we're having this evening. So again, I thank everyone. I thank those who invited me to be part of this discussion. I look forward to hearing from everyone on this panel this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christine. Glad to have you here tonight. Our next Black woman entrepreneur is Diane Mcinty. Diane is a certified personal training specialist who has dedicated her life to athletics and wellness. Over the last few years, she has developed young athletes through numerous boot camps and training sessions. Diane loved sharing her passion for health and wellness with youth in hopes of teaching them valuable life skills. Diane, thank you for being here tonight. Over to you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here, and it's a pleasure to be here. So yes, so I am a certified personal trainer. That journey for me, using that as my career, probably only started a couple years ago, about 5 years ago. But through my life, I always had a passion for fitness and for health and wellness. I grew up running track and field. So I was lucky enough to get a scholarship to a university in the States. Did that for about 5 years, came here, met my husband, had children. So that journey for me, I kind of put on the back burner. But I knew that I always wanted to be active and have fitness as part of my life. So both my boys are they're very in hockey. They're high on the high level of hockey. And so with their teams, I offered to volunteer to do their off ice training because they don't want me on ice because I can't skate. So I did the off ice, the dry land training. And so I volunteered to do that. And after doing that for a season, I realized that is something that I was very, very passionate about. So I became certified to be a personal trainer. So I work with a lot of different teams. I love working with young children, also with women. But I would say one of the struggles in my business is that there isn't a lot of women personal trainers and also not a lot of Black women personal trainers, especially I live in St. Albert, and especially in Edmonton, there's not a lot of, I don't see me a lot anywhere. So what I want to see more of is having people and women that look like me, that are doing the same passion as me, and someone that I can bounce ideas off. And so when I got asked to be on this panel tonight, I was really, really excited just to link with other women entrepreneurs and get some ideas and feedback. And so, yeah, no, I'm really excited to be here. I was a little nervous at first because you guys are all real smart. I am not a doctor, I am not a CEO, but after listening to all of you, I'm like, okay, I think I'm good. I think I'll be okay here. So again, thanks very, very much for having me here. And yeah, excited to hear more about everyone else. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Diane. That is the beauty of our province. We are a diversified province where we cherish each other's contributions, whether in the field of business or academics or personal training, you name it. So thank you for being here tonight. Our last Black woman entrepreneur, but not the least, is Andrea Belly Brown. Andrea's journey into entrepreneurship started when she purchased a store while in university. After graduating with a degree in education, she became a full-time teacher. In 2008, Andrea and her husband bought their first Jiffy Lube franchise in Calgary and have owned up to 5 stores. With decades of business experience combined with an MBA, she found a new passion in entrepreneurship. Andrea, thank you for being here tonight. Over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Oh my, it was so great to be here. And Emily Madu, great to meet you virtually, and everyone else here, such amazing women. And I'm already fascinated. I'm right here in the city. I'm like, oh, didn't know about you and you. Let me take some notes. So, so awesome to be here. So I'm Andrea Bailey Brown. And my entrepreneurial journey started, as the intro said, when I was in university, and I was working at a chocolate store. How appropriate, as it's February, and the store came up for sale, and I thought, why not me? And decided to put my name in the hat. And the owner decided, yes, they would sell the store over to a university student. So that's how my journey started. I was in my 3rd year at university at the time and was on my way to becoming a teacher with a French major and a German minor. So yes, I love language. So a woman that speaks French and German, born in Jamaica, very interesting mix. So from there, I went on to get I continued on with my education, finished, and went to teach with Edmonton Public Schools, and mostly in the junior high setting. And while I was there, the entrepreneurial spirit just did not leave me because it started so early. I decided that I had to start looking at my exit plan. And that plan came in the form of something that was unexpected in the way of direct sales. So through direct sales, I learned to really sell, to speak to people, and to just get out of my comfort zone. The company that I was with, I became one of the only directors in Western Canada and built a team of over 400 women, almost 500 women on my team across Canada. So that was my journey into working for myself and learning to get out of my own way. Now, from there, the idea came up when my husband was in the US, and he wanted to come to Canada. We said, what's next for us? And got the idea, why not buy a business and invest in a business? Did our research, and Jiffy Lube came up and was on our list. And because we are just audacious, we went in, met with the people that were in charge of the Jiffy Lube franchise. They said yes to us. So our first store, we actually bought in Calgary. I heard some people here from Calgary as well. And from Calgary, we continue to expand. So we've bought businesses and we've also sold some of our companies. We still have, we're still running the Jiffy Lube franchise world. And we have stores in Edmonton and stores in BC as well. And so in 2017, I decided to go back and do my MBA because I knew I had plans to take the knowledge that I had to really help other people. So 2017, I completed my master's in business and then started my own consulting agency, which is Bailey Brown Business Consulting and Bailey Brown, the franchise agency. And there, our goal is basically to help women to increase sales and increase profits in their business, because the number of women who make their business to 7 figures and beyond is really, really very low. So that became one of my main passion. And Jiffy Lube themselves, they now use some of our locations to train new franchisees that are coming in. And so again, excited to be here and glad to be able to meet all of you amazing people. Thank you, and that's my story.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I'm glad to have you here tonight. I would now like to pass it on to Stella, who would be our moderator for the roundtable conversation. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. I work for the government of Alberta. I'll be your moderator for this session. We are a little bit behind time. I have a number of questions for the panelists, and for each question, we'll have maybe 2-3 panelists respond, and I will keep an eye on time and hopefully spend just under 8 minutes for each question, so about 3 minutes for each response. If you can please keep that in mind, and hopefully I won't have to interrupt anyone to move on to the next question. So the first question I have, what key issues or gaps exist for supporting Black women entrepreneurs in Alberta?
Does it matter who responds or in any order?
No, whoever goes for it first, and I'll keep an eye if anyone raises a hand or anything, and I can pick if you would like to go first.
Okay, for me it was cash. Money was, I had a little bit of savings to start my business, but once I started, I realized I needed more money than I had in my accounts to run my business. So I know there was a lot of loans out there and grants out there, but it was not as easily accessible as I would have expected it to. And starting up as a new business, being the one and only person doing everything, it was just too much hassle for me to keep going back and forth from the bank over the same, trying to get a loan or trying to get grants. So I felt like cash flow was getting a loan or grants to start a business. Most people, the people who were open to giving me a loan to start a business, wanted to see my income for the past 2-3 years. And I'm just like, this is my first time. I haven't done this before. So I think cash, having easy access to cash and grants or loans, was one of my biggest challenges.
Yeah, I think I'll just add to what Sarah just said about cash. Access to cash is a big problem that Black women are facing, most especially Black women, because we don't have that long history of generational wealth. We are very new in Canada. Our history is 5 or max 10 years in Canada. So we don't have parents and grandparents. We are first generation women that are starting their businesses. So the bank have their own way of assessing you based on you don't have a long history, credit history for you to use. And most of us, when we start our business, like I started from my garage, I didn't have the knowledge for me to be able to know that I need to start this and incorporate my business and open a business account. So I was running the business from my personal account. So my business has no history up on the time I needed to open the store. That's when I realized these are the things I need to do. I don't have any history. And so I'm stuck with myself, having to use my own credit. Then banks, even till date, so many bandwagon in the terms of Black entrepreneurs and so many loans right out there right now. But the problem is, it's still based on your personal credit or what you've done or the money you've made last year. That's what they use. So it's really difficult for new immigrants, Black women to access these funds. So those are one of the difficulties. So I will support Sarah, what Sarah said.
New immigrant women who desire to pursue businesses and entrepreneurship in Alberta, I believe that they also lack training and coaching that will allow them fully integrate into the business ecosystem. I believe that that's not enough in Alberta. People to teach them what the laws are, like how to even file their taxes, like the rules around the kind of business they're going into. Most of them would rely on fellow immigrants who may not even, like sometimes the blind leading the blind. So I think that if the provincial government need to push out, maybe even funding to the right organizations to cater for such needs. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'll add another thing to that. My experience in terms of trying to access training, the only program I was able to get into was it's called micro business training in Edmonton. They are in Alberta. But the problem is you have to leave your job. You have to be unemployed for you to access that training. So I had to resign from my full-time job for me to be able to access that training, because you have to either be unemployed on EI for you to qualify to enter that training program. So these are like issues that we really need to address in terms of helping women. We need the knowledge, we need access to those resources for us to be able to use easily to start our business.
Can
Andrea,
Yes.
do you have something to add on this topic?
I do. I just wanted to say, when I listened to, I think it's Kemi, if I got your name right, story about starting her her grocery store from her garage, I feel like it's so important. And one of the things that I realize is that a lot of people do not know how to tell their story. So when you think about the founders of Google and Steve Jobs, they all started in their garage as well. So sometimes I think we have to see the value of the struggle that we've gone through, our story, and know how to message. I think messaging is also one of the things, using that story to be able to access loans and to feel passionate about what we're doing is so, so important. I think when I listen to a lot of founders and Black women, we sometimes take the things that we've gone through as a lot of shame and pain, as opposed to turning that into our power story. And I think Damon Johns wrote a book called The Power of Broke. And I think we should all read that story, because there is so much resilience that we have, that we can build businesses from our garage and do absolutely well with. So that's something I would say, be aware of your story and start taking notes and learn how to tell your story and turn that into a powerful sales message. So just start taking notes. So that's what I want to add to that. And I do agree with the woman about the access to capital can be a problem if you are, depending on the type of business that you're going into. Yes, the banks want historical data. So knowing how to write a business plan and getting someone or company that can do that for you, help you with it or go over it. Because what we don't understand is the banks, they don't like taking risks either. I know it's their jobs to give money, but they're very risk averse. So how do we counter that? And just learning how to potentially write a business plan and choose an industry. I mean, you have to choose the industry you're passionate about, but understanding what can you do to show up in your fullness and be able to present something, and hopefully they'll be able to listen to you with that. So that's what I would say.
Thank you.
Stella, sorry, I'd love to really add something here.
Oh, please go ahead.
So I love Andrea's response, because her response for me is the difference that exists within the population, in our Black population. Andrea grew up here, was educated here, sounds Canadian. Kemi doesn't. And so Kemi is Nigerian, came in a shorter period. And these are exactly the gaps that exist and we experience, because we're not able to articulate our story the way the banker or whoever is at the receiving end of our information can understand. And so these gaps, we need to look closer at them and see how best we can address them, and probably come up with, for example, a scoring system for Black entrepreneurs that are new immigrants, for example, that allows them to score on a different level. So maybe a different kind of funding pool that exists with a specific score level that is appropriate for a new immigrant or a woman that has several barriers that prevents her, like we don't have not having a long track record, not having a business plan that looks or sounds the way others would present it. So I think these are exactly the two examples given. That's where the barriers lie, is that we often at times don't articulate ourselves the way the receiver wants to receive the information, and as a result, we don't get supported.
Thank you. Hopefully everyone has had a chance to respond before I move to the next question, which is, what can people of color do to empower themselves and each other in a constructive manner?
I think I'll go. I think mentorship is very, very important. If I started, like I always say, like when I started my business, if there was someone that looked like me, sounded like me, that I could go to and ask questions, or even if a community that would receive me would open arms and help me, that would have been very useful to me. But nobody in my community or within my network, or nobody in my network knew anybody outside the network who was willing to help me. So I feel like with that, knowing the hassle I had to go through to get to where I am right now, it just wouldn't make sense for someone else who's coming after me to go through all those hurdles. So I feel mentorship, when you've made it or when you've succeeded in achieving something, being open to helping other people coming behind you, it's a great way for us to start.
Thank you.
I think just adding on to that, the stories that we talked about previously, I mean, sharing your story with somebody else. And from your story, someone could be listening to that story and is able to pick up something or help or a certain angle of how to start their business or how to improve their business. Sharing that, because sometimes we get to where we get to and we forget that there are others around who are still in that journey. Being very forthcoming and again, sharing, where did you get this? I know you did make a comment about the blind leading the blind, and that can be quite dangerous, can take you down a wrong hole. But if you succeeded in a certain way, I think sharing is really, really key, which would tie in with mentorship as well.
And I can also add something to that. I'll also add that I think we need to level up our level of education and exposure. For an example, I think that we need to empower ourselves by getting the required education, certification, or accreditation that can help us up the ladder of success in our career. Like if you're in business, register the business appropriately, file the taxes, acquire the needed skills to run that business, get the structure of the business right from the onset. Don't cut corners. I think just get all the information you need for that business, just so that you can move up the ladder. Thank you.
That's awesome. Can I add something as well? I think one of the key things in terms of empowering ourselves, I mean, we have to state the fact that the Black experience has consisted of us being excluded or barred from spaces of abundance or spaces of luxury or spaces of wealth. And so that has been, overall speaking, that has been the Black experience. And because of that, I feel at times I see a lot of, people, we limit ourselves from then believing that we belong in certain spaces. And I think that's one of the big things that I would say is that you have to make sure you start to network and also, networking with other people. And yes, you mentioned the word level up. I think we also have to level up. And we've all heard the saying, your network is your net worth. So where are you networking and are you joining groups in different different circles? And also if you are, the smartest person in that room, you have to really rethink, are you in the right room? And I know I've been in circles where when I've outgrown them, and I've realized that I have just exited. I've just made a business decision that where I'm at and this circle will no longer serve the goal that I have for myself or for my business. So I think understanding the network that you have and finding different places where you can get what you need. We are in Alberta, it's predominantly white. So a lot of the spaces that I end up in, I'm in a place where a lot of people don't look like me. And I've accepted that because of where I basically live. So I think understanding, the success code, what are some of the things that we really have to do, some of the things that we like, some of the things that we may not like, but if we really, really want to grow our businesses, we have to grow ourselves and we have to get ourselves in different spaces. And I'm truly passionate about that. I'm part of different networking groups and women's groups and things that I go to so that I can learn. And I think along the way, we will find allies and people that are willing to help us and guides that are willing to support us on our journey.
a good segue to that for the next question, and a lot of what Andrea, some of what she said probably relate to the question. Can you speak to the importance of creating a supportive network?
I will jump in if that's okay. Is that okay? All right.
Yes, go ahead.
I love everything that's been shared here. And one of the things that I want to contribute is in some of the work that I am doing, there is an organization that is federally funded here in Edmonton, Action for Healthy Communities. And they do work with a lot of new Canadians. And, so we've heard, so many stories already where, yes, there is a level where we absolutely need to take the bull by the horns and take the reins and do things. And especially in a society that will not, like society, as it was just mentioned, is not going to tell us this. Society is not necessarily structured to support Black women, if we're going to be frank about it. So there is a level of responsibility we need to take. But I feel like the network, absolutely, as Black women, it's very, when we're talking about mentorship, that is so key. To have that community of seeing people that look like you and sharing the stories. But I think it's also important to have a network that includes people that may not look like us as well. And I know that we'll have a lot of those. And what I'm saying with that is, in these discussions and the classes that I facilitate and the work I do in this organization, or the organization that has procured our services, I recognize the privilege that I have as a first generation Canadian and things that having education. And there are people that might not have that same level of education, and that confidence might not be there yet. So when they walk into a room, they might freeze and might not know that what is available to them, who are their allies in the room. They might not know how to present themselves, what to ask, who to ask, right? So I think there needs to be a level of awareness and a lot of listening for those who are in positions of power, which is a lot of us on this call, and others, non-Black women who are willing to listen and work with us, because Black women have also traditionally been told to do things by themselves. Be in your corner, you're by yourself, you have to hold this by yourself and be that strong Black woman, and that is not helping anyone, right? So I think it's really important that we recognize the level of privilege that we have as women here, women of education. We have our businesses and the journey, and sharing that story and being mentors. And then also, if we're not there yet, recognize that there are women who are looking up to us, and they might have it all together. They might have the education, statistically, Black women are some of the most educated women in our society. That is a fact. But again, we represent less than 5% of corporate organization, especially in senior leadership, right? So when we look at things like that, something needs to be done with ourselves and lifting each other up. But of course, those in positions of power to be willing to listen and I'm not saying play favorites, but definitely be willing to listen and make adjustments so that you can support like in a longer term, not just kind of checkbox effect, but support and create some longevity and support programs of mentorship, because there's very few that I am aware of Black women mentorship groups in this city, at least, or even in the province, right? So I wanted to add that before I forgot, because it kind of takes in everything we've talked about, and it's us all coming to the table. Yes, as Black women, 100%, we are resilient. We have a lot to offer. But those who might, identify as allies, who have those positions of privilege and power, who can knock down doors that we might not be able to, knock down doors to get us access to funding, I think it's important that they are involved in this conversation as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Anyone wants to add to the importance of creating a supportive network?
So I founded a organization called When African Women Talk in 2018. And it has been such an amazing journey, because through that platform, I have gotten to meet and network with so many different powerful Black entrepreneurs, some of which are sitting on this panel. And also through that, I've been able to expand my business. For example, in 2000 and in 2020 during the pandemic, Dr. Jennifer here was one of my biggest clients supplying PPE within Canada and outside Canada to areas that she was familiar with. Creating a network is the key. Meeting and engaging with other women that look like you is very, very powerful. And I don't think we realize how powerful it is. Being an immigrant in Canada, I immigrated here from Zambia in 2010. And I don't look like many women because a lot of people think I'm from somewhere else other than Africa. But really intentionally meeting and engaging women and talking to them, finding out what they do, having conversations, going to different networking events has been very, very vital and has seen me move up the ladder and have access to a lot of doors that normally I wouldn't have access to. So there is, I think it's one of the most vital things is creating a network and creating a supportive network and supporting others gives you visibility.
Thank you. Next question, what top priorities do you recommend for future action?
I would like to see more intentional engagement from the government. I would like to see more programs that are very target focused and not with just one blanket solve all kind of programs, but programs that actually listen to us and sit with us and really find out what the gaps are. As a Black person in Canada, the one thing that really drives me up the wall is we're all lumped into one big lump sum, and yet our experiences of Canada and our experiences in the world are very different. We come from very different socioeconomic backgrounds. We have different education levels. We come from different countries. We speak different languages. And because of that, it's very hard when we're all lumped up and there's a one-size-fit-all program created to help us elevate as entrepreneurs. So it would be nice to see a more tailor-made intentional program created to support us.
And maybe I'll add that I would like to see more funding for funding opportunities for Black women who wish to scale up their business. And also like to see more Black women in leadership positions and in all industries and government levels. I think that we need more people of color to sit on the table when decisions that concerns us are being made. And also government can support the organizations within the communities that caters for Black women. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'll just add that it is really important that access to funding is very important to us as Black women, as we struggle through every day just for us to be able to start our business, even to sustain the business. It's been very difficult. So even if government of Alberta have a form of loan guarantee programs that guarantee, we are not even saying give us grants, we are saying loans that will be able to guarantee with ATB, for instance, and then ATB won't turn you back because we know ATB is for small businesses, but all they give you is open your account and they give you some form of credit card and that's it. And they can't do more than that, especially when you don't have ton and ton of experience in business. So also another thing I want to see the government fund, like previous speakers have mentioned, is for us to have incubators, for us to have like think tank organizations that come together, like we have the Alberta Women Entrepreneur organization, but we need something that is focused for Black women, that is just about us and meet us at our level, and then we'll be able to develop from there. So that will be my contribution.
Thank you, Kemi.
I think just to, if I may, just to add on to what Banke said about Black women being part of the decision-making table. In health, I'll speak about health. It saddens me greatly to see that there are lots and lots of organizations. I could name a few, Alberta Health Services committees, Alberta Health, where when I sit at the table, there's one other Black health professional I always find, that's Bukola, who's a nurse with a PhD. Some of you may know her. It's either her or me who sit at these tables. I worked in a primary care network, in the one of the primary care network in Edmonton. I won't mention which one. And I walked in there and I said, optics. I was the only person of color. And I said, where is everybody else? I've only been in this country for 5 years. I sit on some of the refugee committees in Alberta, Alberta Health Services as a physician representative. I look around, I don't see anyone of color. We're talking about refugees. How can you represent, refugee, families when you look the way you do? I sit there and I bring things, and they talk about funding and programs and services for refugees with so much passion, which I like because it's all meant to help. But I come and bring the voices of people on the ground. We work with refugees. We partnered with Catholic Social Services. We work with all the refugee families. We're in their homes every day. We know the needs. We ourselves are immigrants. I may not have led a life of a refugee from Africa, but I can relate better than a white Canadian. And to find that in these organizations, we have white Canadians being chairs and heads, and they're talking a lot of passion, which I really appreciate. But where are the people? Where are the other doctors? Where are the other nurses when these decisions are being made? Funding, programs, health interventions. Where are the Black healthcare providers? So I think I invite myself. I'm always one of the executive directors in Alberta Health Services said, she met me at another meeting. She said, oh my goodness, Jennifer, you're here. And she said, if anyone knows someone who who's always at every table, knows how to network, if one wants to learn, talk to Jennifer. This is where the decisions are being made about vulnerable populations who are we know a lot of our refugees and newcomers fit in. I'm there. I want to add a voice because I'm taking the needs of the refugee families on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final question for this session. What other issues can you share with us today to guide the government in supporting new entrepreneurs?
I would like to see, as Dr. Njenga just mentioned, more people that understand us making decisions. And so when you create these programs, there are people in Alberta that understand us. And if we put them in the position to make some of those decisions and help us, then I think we would get more solutions. Stella, could you ask that question again? I just lost my thought.
What other issues can you share with us today that guide the government in supporting new entrepreneurs?
So, okay, thank you. The other issues are, most of the times, a lot of the startups that are created for our communities. Like Kemi created a grocery store. The other lady on the panel has created a skincare line. Myself, I am I'm consulting for a client that has just started a pharmaceutical brand that she's taking to Africa. So a lot of the times, a lot of the businesses don't sound like Albertan businesses or typical businesses. And the reason is because they're very specific to our population. So having people that represent our population in positions to make decisions when we're applying for finances, loans, looking for support, it would be great to see more of ourselves there.
I would just also add that, like, for example, when the government decided to release all of that funding, and it was specifically noted for Black-owned businesses, and so many people did not know where to find it or how to access it. I have a really good relationship with our bankers in our network, And when I called to say, where is this funding for Black-owned business? They basically had to check around and get back to me to even figure it out. He was someone that he's like, oh, I didn't even know about it. I basically came very close to letting him go. I'm like, you better know about this stuff. So I think one of the key things would be really good to know, to have like a central place where this information can be accessed. Because what I know is that it sounds really good when these programs are announced, and that's from like a top level. But once you really get down to it and you dig like 3 levels deep, then everything gets lost from the announcement. So I think the key thing is like, how do you access the fund that you say is actually there? And I think, unfortunately, something that we have to do as business owners, which takes a lot of time, is sort of being vigilant and staying informed, because there are companies like Facebook that was giving out funding for Black creators, Instagram, TikTok, they all had funding for a lot of money was being offered in the last year or year and a half or so. A lot of people never even heard about any of those funds that were just being given to a lot of Black creators in the marketplace. So I think just having a central access place, so this is not just a big announcement, but how do people actually access some of those funds, or some of the things that I know that some of my clients and people were really, asking about and concerned about.
I just wanted to ask, oh, sorry, was someone going? Okay, sorry, I don't know if I'm raising my hand or what's happening. I think one thing to add to, again, all of the amazing comments, like I'm just like power writing over here, is, again, we've shared some of the issues here, but what has been said before is like having something that's a little bit more curated, the combination of, the businesses even that we've discussed on here are not your traditional Alberta businesses, which is, again, is very much rooted in the energy sector. And I know that energy touches everything that we do, but in order to really uncover these issues, like, we are not the voices of everyone, but some of the voices, is to have those, whether you want to call it listening campaigns, and then of course having more champions sit at the table, as it was mentioned, I believe 3 comments ago, having more people of color, having more Black women at the table to champion this, so that it doesn't start and stop. Because I don't know if this has been a priority before. It may have been a priority, but we don't know about that. As Andrea just mentioned, it's very easy for things to get lost in the sauce, right? So by the time we're ready to apply, we have 2 days to get all this information. And for me, I might be able to do that, but for someone who might be at the very beginnings of their journey, or who might not have the same access that I have, that can be extremely overwhelming, right? So to sit down and have more discussions, listening, and really unpacking, you'll really start to hear from other Black female entrepreneurs and really make this a priority. And from there, create those custom solutions. So it's not the catch-all. So you're not painting everyone with the same brush. And again, you're making space. But I think, again, it really comes down to having more people that look like us inform that and champion it and make sure, because it matters to me. I know it matters to us. So I'd make that a priority if I was sitting at the table, because I'd make sure that these things were brought up at every single meeting and ask, what are we doing to advance this year, next year, the year after, and so on and so forth, right? So I think it's a combination of everything that's been said, but it cannot stop with this panel. Yes, I am extremely grateful that we're having this panel, but I think more discussions need to be had so we can uncover it and then create those solutions so they're actually reflective. Because I cannot tell you how many times I've heard it's just like, I got so excited for the funding, but I either got overwhelmed by all of the things once I got to it, or I just don't think that there's enough support for me, or no one knows about it. Like, so the funding, while it's well-intentioned, is going nowhere oftentimes, right? So we want to make sure that, how do we fill in those gaps, have those conversations, have the understanding, and have the champions at the table. And it's great to have enthusiastic individuals who are championing it, but lived experience matters, and it does help inform the conversation in a different way.
This has been just incredible. Just drawing on what Christine and Andrea were just talking about. It's interesting because Casey and I today were at the Premier Summit for Fairness for Newcomers all day today. And so some of these issues are cross-pollinating, I think, with both of us tonight. You might be interested to know that I'm actually working on a Women's Hub. It'll be a website to house all things women, from support for entrepreneurs to childcare to educate, whatever it may be, but from a women's perspective. And so I'm hoping that that will help provide a place for women to go and actually be able to find curated, and I think that word is a great word, curated information. And I've heard so much tonight about networking, and it's really so important, and the mentoring. So if I have it my way, this won't be the last of these roundtables. I'm so grateful for what you've shared. And it's interesting because over the summer, I had this opportunity to travel and tour all over Alberta and meet with groups of women, and certainly Black women were parts of these groups, but it's really interesting when you bring a group of all Black women together, the information and the tone and the topics are very, it's very interesting. And I'm so glad that we've been able to do that tonight, and I hope we will be able to do it again soon. But I think there are many things that we can do to fill in some of these gaps, because certainly what we don't want to have happen is have so much talent, so much energy, not meet its full potential. So I'm so grateful to all of you tonight for participating. Emily Madu, do you have anything you'd like to add at the end here?
No, thank you so much, Whitney, and thank you to all of you once again. This has been fascinating for me. You have talked about some of the challenges that you face in your daily businesses. You've also provided some of the things that government can do to help you overcome many of those challenges. And I think this is what this roundtable is meant to accomplish. It is befitting for me that this is, many of you know, this is part of our Black History Month celebration. And as we think about the contributions of Black people, their place, and to date, a struggle to live a full, successful life here in our province and country. I am reminded of all of the stories and, and the difficulties and the opportunities that you've shared with us tonight. And I want to assure you that government is listening. That is why, Minister Isaac have brought this roundtable together. And this is why today we had a very successful Premier Summit on fairness for newcomers. A lot of work still needs to be done. Part of this government's commitment laid out in our platform commitment in 2019. I recall the very first act of this government in 2019 was the passage of the Fair Registration Practices Act that will make it easier for professionals to make that transition to their professional bodies, to their professions in our province. So thank you. I look forward to doing more of this. I do want you to know that this province needs to hear your voices. This province needs to see you. This province needs to listen to your stories, because when we do, when government does, it's only then that public policies, government programs can reflect the actual realities on the ground. And I want to ensure that that as we think about the future, the difficulties and the opportunities that we have, that government policies are reflecting all of those things. I think for me, it is one of gratitude and thanks to each and every one of you tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. It's been such a pleasure, and hopefully we will do this soon again. Please don't hesitate ever to reach out. We're here to help with all of your issues with respect to your businesses. If we can be of assistance in the very near term, certainly let's continue to work together on the broader issues as we go forward. And I just, again, want to thank everybody. And also just want to happy Black History Month to everybody. And let's continue. I think it's fantastic that we can all have this opportunity to share for the entire month of February. So thank you so very much. Have a great night all. And thank you to all of our support staff who helped make tonight successful. Have a great evening, everyone.
Good night,
You too.
everyone.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.